Hello everybody, my name is Darkslayer, and welcome to the first cast I have done in a long time. And this isn't an ordinary cast. This isn't a random game of StarCraft. No. This is the grand finals of the in-house tournament for the Fever Clan. Both of these players are in Diamond League, and it should be a pretty fun watch. Both of these players, I've got a lot of respect for both of them. Both of them are pretty in form with their play. They've both been practicing, and we should have a good match. But without further ado, spawning in the bottom right-hand side of Paladino, the one, the only, the purple Zerg, billydabob. Up against, in the pink trunks, at the top left-hand side, it is Synizta. Now, I also want to go ahead and mention there is some interesting things happening already. We have gas before pool and still no second hatchery for billydabob, which means we could be seeing some early ling pressure going towards Synizta already. We finally do have a drone making its way down to build that second hatchery. However, it is going down quite late compared to what it could be economically. So we're going to have to wait and see what he does decide to do with this larva. Currently nothing. He's building a queen. Oh no, am I wrong? I'm just wrong, aren't I? He's not even going to get aggressive. Look, okay. It's been a while. We're not going to worry about it. We do have a slice supply block here from Synizta, so maybe the early ling pressure wouldn't have been that bad, because I do not think the Zealot would have been out, as it's just now beginning production due to the early supply block of Synizta. If we take a look at the production tab, we don't have anything crazy here from Synizta. He is only deciding to take the one gas instead of two, so we shouldn't be seeing anything too pressure heavy coming out of Synizta early game, and he is going to go ahead and start building that pylon to take his natural expansion. Over here in billydabob's base, we do see that speed is not on the way. We do not have lings being made, and it looks like we're just going to have a pretty slow opening from both players. However, billydabob is deciding to throw down the Roach Warren, which merits potential early game aggression, especially since we still don't have a third hatchery here nor here. So I'm not 100% sure. We're gonna have to keep our eye open on billydabob to see what he's going for, especially with that early lair. I don't know how I didn't see that until now. That lair is coming down exceptionally fast, which screams Mutalisk. If you're a Protoss in this position, you scout that early lair on two bases, be prepared. It usually means Mutalisk, but we'll have to see what billydabob does decide to go for here. He is going to follow up the Zealot with a Adept to try to get some early drone kills in. However, the queens should be out by the time that the Adept does arrive. As you can see, there's already queens out. So depending on if billydabob decides to go for further queen production, we'll have to see what the Adept does end up doing. It may just be going to scout. It might not get too much damage done. We got 3 gateways at the front and a pylon to finish off the wall. But we still have the Zealot up top here, which is going to cause issues, by the way. He's going to start building from that robo, and it won't be able to get out. I'm calling it now. I've played Protoss enough to know that this Immortal that's being built right now is not getting down this ramp. You watch. You watch. I know what's going to happen. Oh, billydabob making an interesting choice. Actually only built 1 Roach to ward off the Adept. Now, that's a smart decision. Also, I don't know what's wrong with my middle mouse button. It's supposed to just let me see like I just kind of drag and it looks real nice. But sometimes it goes like super far left. I don't know what's going on. But anyways, I apologize about that. But this Roach was so intelligent. 1 Roach warded off the Adept, and now the Adept isn't going to be trying to make its way in. Now, the Adept could phase its way in up to the top, and it would be able to get the scout on the early lair, which is a very important tell on the potential tech paths that billydabob is going. Especially with the lack of a third base, the Protoss has to be wondering if a 2 base all-in is going to be coming. Oh, I missed it. I didn't get to see if the Immortal made it down the ramp, but I'm telling you right now, it did not. All right, I can go back in time, and I know that it didn't. So we have a couple more roaches out now to come out here and pressure the adept. It will go down before the shade gets away. And the roach count is now going to start increasing. So billydabob is definitely looking to do an all-out aggressive build. We still don't have a third base down. Synizta. With the counter, honestly, we've got the sentries for the force fields, we've got immortal production, and some stalkers behind the wall, which means that if there is going to be early game aggression from billydabob with these roaches, it's going to be shut down pretty hard. But honestly, I don't know exactly what is in the future. We do have the infestation pit coming down and the third base from billydabob. So billydabob, I guess, wanting to play safe against Synizta. Not 100% sure what Synizta is going to be doing, so he wants to take it safe and get some defenses up before taking that third base. We do have some links over here to get some scouting information, so he will know that the immortals are out. We've got that stalker composition on the way, and we got more gateways now down for Synizta, as well as that blink on the way, which is going to let him be very prepared for any roach play that's going to be coming out from billydabob, who is now going to morph in some overseers. Now, I don't know if this has to do with the fear of DTs, or he's going to send those over to actually scout. We'll have to see what he ends up doing with those, but we do have the hive on the way and a hydralisk den. So billydabob going for a very unorthodox build. It's very hard to tell exactly what he's wanting to go for, but it doesn't matter because Synizta is wanting to move out here. I don't think he has a probe. He does. He has a probe going over to take the third base while the army does push out. This is very common from Protoss players. We're going to have to see what he decides to do with the warp prison. Obviously, he wants to get a quick warp in before they move out, but will he decide to attack in multiple locations to try to do additional damage or not? But he is deciding to go out onto this creep, which could cause a lot of problems. He is getting the creep tumors, but he is on the creep, which means the wraparound potential for billydabob is quite high right now. But billydabob not overreacting, keeping his army in the natural base, not wanting to come out here and defend, but here he comes. He's coming out here, and as you can see, that Zerg does move very fast on the creep. We do have some force fields going down, splitting up that army, but the roaches are moving in pretty close. Unfortunately, that immortal DPS is going to kill the roaches rather fast, but a really well-placed time warp is going to slow the Hydra down from getting to this army to do the DPS that it needs to do. And the Protoss army does win so far. However, the Zerg army is now in a small concave, and that force field is going to cause a lot of issues getting that Zerg army back into the natural base. And we got that warp prism uncontested. We're going to have uncontested warp ins from the Protoss player, and the drones are pulled from billydabob in a last-ditch effort to try to stop this Protoss army from advancing on the natural base location. And just one as a side note, there is a DT shrine finishing up as I speak, but back to the fight. The Hydralisks do have a lot of DPS and do focus fire and kill down one of those immortals, which means the roaches are going to be that much more effective when trying to take down the rest of this Protoss army. And I don't know if billydabob is going to have the answer. He is going to go ahead and pull the drones to try to buffer to let the roaches and Hydra do as much damage as they can while the drones are in the way, taking most of the damage, and that is it. Another immortal does go down. A final warp in here of adepts, but it looks like billydabob is going to be able to hold this position, but it is not without loss. He lost a lot of workers right there, and this was a somewhat even trade, somewhat uneven trade. There are no workers here on the natural base location, and he doesn't have the third base saturated at all. However, the Protoss had to trade an army for that to happen, which means that the counter push from billydabob, from billydabob is going to be extremely massive. And here they come to try to bust down the front door. If they're going to focus fire the pylon, they do, and they are inside. We do have an immortal up the ramp, but it is kind of stuck there as the force field's kept it up there, and a nice focus fire does take down the immortal, and the Protoss is looking like it's in a pretty severe situation right now. It is going to warp in some DTs though, and I do not believe that there is any detection here from our Zergy player, which means the DTs are going to be able to chop away at this Zerg army, but unfortunately the Zerg army is destroying the infrastructure of the Protoss base. A nice force field there does cut it in half, and it lets these DTs start eating away at this Zerg army. And half the Zerg army does remain as it makes its way up here to the mineral line of Synizta. We do have another cybernetics core on the way, but is potentially going to get focus fire down. No, deciding not to. It looks like he's going to try to chase down as many probes as he can before these DTs do clean up the rest of billydabob army. If we look over, oh, I don't know why it's doing it. If we look over here, we do see that there was no reinforcements made during that fight, which means the macro did slip quite hard for billydabob, or that could have gone way the other direction. Of course, billydabob is also broke when it comes to minerals because he hasn't been producing the drones that he wants to produce thanks to Synizta's attack. So we actually equaled out. Both players trading punches right now, one after another, and both players are sitting in a spot where they are weak economically, their infrastructure is hurt, and they're just going to have to lick their wounds and try to get themselves back into a fighting situation. So I do not think we're going to see too much aggression from either player for a couple of minutes as both just try to figure out what's going on. So we do have 1-1 on the way for the Zerg player. I do not think the Protoss has gotten any upgrades. Nope, we're sitting on no upgrades for the Protoss. But the Zerg does have 1-1, which is going to give him the advantage. But we do have Disruptor tech on the way. Our first Disruptor going to be making its way out onto the field. Disruptors are a fantastic way to deal with Zerg armies, specifically Roach, Hydra, and Lurker. Which, as you can see, billydabob is going for that Lurker Den. And hold that thought, some DTs did make their way into the main here, getting a couple of drone kills, and then deciding to go for the Lurker Den. He could have just killed the Spore. Oh, actually I take that back, because with the Overseer there was actually a smart decision to go for that Lurker Den, because when the Overseer showed up, they would have gotten cleaned up anyways and probably wouldn't have been able to get the DPS off onto the Lurker Den before they went down. So nice choice of attacking attack target there by Synizta, getting that Lurker Den. So we're gonna have to see another Hydra Den go down. We don't have any Hydras on the way for the time being, and Lurker production has been halted, giving Synizta time to get up as many Disruptors as he possibly can. The thing about Roaches and Hydras, especially off creep, is that they can't dodge Disruptor balls very easy. Disruptor balls are very fast and can get to your army very quickly, even if you're trying to dodge. Ooh, nice catch there with the Hydra onto the Warp Prism. And here we go, he does have the Disruptor balls up top, and one Disruptor does fire a shot, and it doesn't go down before it does explode, so he gets a nice chunk of that Zerg army. So we got some force fields there. Oh, and another nice Disruptor shot. This is what I was talking about. Disruptor shots, absolutely fantastic at dealing with those Zerg armies. We now have Photon overcharge onto the pylon. The Zerg is going to try to make a break up into the main, and it will get up there, and it will focus fire down both the Disruptors before the third shot does go off. And now the Protoss has to fight up the ramp to get to this army with a couple of Roaches wrapping around the bottom side. And once again, billydabob doing a lot of damage to Synizta with these Roaches and Hydras. We do have quite a few add-ups, so they might be able to clean up. Actually, I take that back. We do have a couple of Roaches up top there. Very sloppy. However, with that Photon overcharge, it might end the Zerg spree. I take that back as a huge wave of Roaches make their way across the field. If you look at that supply, it pretty much tells the tale. I don't know if Synizta is going to be able to break out of this one. That's a lot of Roaches, and Synizta leaves the game without a GG. I hope you guys enjoyed game number 1 of the Fever Clan in-house tournament finals.